Here are the top 9 mistakes I have seen over the last 5 years as a men's fat loss coach. Number 1 is not committing to fat loss. You see, commitment is the key to any significant change that you want to make, including fat loss. And science shows us that long-term consistency is crucial to success. If you're not committed, you're more likely to fall back into old habits and not make any progress at all. You're also half-assing it when you're not committing. And half-hearted efforts often yield half-hearted results. Maybe you have that diet starts on Monday, every Monday type of mentality. And it's this type of mindset that signifies procrastination and can be indicative of all or nothing mindset that you might be struggling with and is leading to your lack of fat loss progress. The second mistake that I want to talk about is poor food choices. Now, in theory, you can lose fat by eating anything. If all you ate was pizza, burgers, or 7-Eleven hot dogs, if you're eating few enough calories, in theory, you could lose fat. But for a number of reasons, that's probably not gonna be a great idea. Now, the one reason that I am referring to in particular here is to food volume and hunger levels. And so what I mean by that is that you want to be choosing foods that have a lower caloric density, meaning you can have more food volume, more food in total on less calories. So this is gonna help out with things like satiety. So food volume is crucial in maintaining a feeling of fullness or satiety, right? And having these high volume foods, often rich in water, rich in fiber, they're gonna take up more space in your stomach and keep you feeling fuller for longer than foods that don't have this type of caloric density or food volume. And when you choose these low volume, high calorie foods, like those 7-Eleven hot dogs we talked about, right? You're gonna be consuming more calories for the same volume of food. And this can lead to accidentally overeating, having too many calories, and it's really gonna make it harder to maintain that calorie deficit, which you need in order to lose even an ounce of fat. So the other issue that you're gonna see here with eating those types of foods is just lower nutrient density. So those low volume, high calorie foods, like that 7-Eleven hot dog I keep talking about, are often low in essential vitamins and minerals and those types of nutrients, right? Leading to, multiple different nutrient deficiencies that you could possibly have and are gonna negatively impact your metabolism and your overall health. On the other hand, when you choose nutrient dense, high volume foods, not only are you going to be feeling fuller on fewer calories, but you're also gonna be getting all the vitamins and minerals that you otherwise might not be. And the last thing here is talking about digestion and metabolism. Again, these high volume foods, they're gonna contain more fiber, more water, which are gonna both help with digestion and can help potentially boost your metabolism a bit. The next mistake we're gonna be talking about is not getting enough protein. Getting enough protein is not just for if you want to build muscle. It's also very important if you want to lose fat, if not more so important than when you're trying to, solely build muscle. And here's a couple reasons why. The first thing is going to be high satiety or feeling full. Protein is known for its satiety boosting properties. It's going to keep you feeling fuller for longer, reducing your overall calorie intake and making weight loss easier. If you've never tried to lose fat before, hunger is going to be an inevitable part of that journey. And if you can manage that, you're going to be a lot better off. Another reason why, it's a mistake to not get enough protein is because the thermic effect of food and the thermic properties that protein has. So it has a much higher thermic effect over the other two macronutrients, fats and carbohydrates. And what this means is that your body is going to use more calories to digest protein than it is carbs or fats. And the result of that is a slightly increased metabolic rate, which is going to aid in your fat loss endeavors. Another reason we want to make sure you're getting enough protein is to preserve that lean muscle mass. So when you're trying to lose fat, it's important to lose fat and not muscle, right? So having enough protein intake is necessary for maintaining that lean muscle mass during a calorie deficit. More muscle mass is also going to help with a little bit higher metabolic rate, which is going to, again, not only help you lose fat, but make you look a lot better once you lose that fat as well. Protein can also influence the release of hormones and control appetite and fullness. So for example, it reduces levels of ghrelin, the hunger hormone. So, as that hormone goes up, your hunger is going to go down, and it also increases the production of hormones like peptide YY, which signals to your body that you're full. So you have more protein, and while you might not be having more calories, that little hormone is going to tell you, hey, I'm full, I'm good, I don't need to eat more. All right, the next mistake we're gonna talk about is going too fast with your fat loss efforts. So, while it might be tempting to try and speed things up, and maybe you're not in a great spot right now where you're really feeling uncomfortable in your body and you're just ready for a change, you're ready to be there already. I get it, I've been there. But here's why that might not always be a good idea, however tempting it may be. The first reason is that when you try to cut calories too fast, too large of a deficit too soon, it's gonna slow down your metabolism. So when you drastically cut your calorie intake, your metabolism is going to slow down to try and conserve energy, which is ultimately gonna decrease your total daily caloric burn. Significant calorie deficit can reduce your metabolic rate by up to 23%, making fat loss a lot more difficult because again, how do we lose fat? We have our total daily energy expenditure, or the amount of calories that we burn in a given day, and then we have the calories that we consume, and that we need to be consuming less calories than we burn. But if we're burning less calories, then we're gonna have to consume even fewer calories, and it's just gonna make this a lot more difficult. Another issue with, again, going too fast with your fat loss efforts is gonna increase hunger and cravings. So when you're eating too few of calories, it's gonna increase those levels of ghrelin, the hunger hormone, and decrease levels of leptin, which is the fullness hormone, leading to increased hunger and potential overeating, which might lead you to give into those hunger cues and erase your calorie deficit and all your hard work, which is not ideal, not what you want. Another downside of trying to lose fat too fast is loss of muscle mass. So when you try to lose weight too quickly, it can lead to not only fat loss, but muscle loss as well, which you really don't want for a couple reasons. I mean, one, you want those muscles once you lose the fat to look good, but also muscle is a lot more metabolically demanding than fat. And so if you're losing that muscle is actually helping you burn more calories and more metabolically active than that fat, which is exactly the opposite of what you want to do. Going too fast with your fat loss may also lead to some nutrient deficiencies. So when you're in a severe calorie restricted diet, you're less likely to get a wide variety of foods that are potentially needed for optimal health and well-being, which again is not going to be good for health or fat loss. And the last thing here when it comes to trying to lose fat too fast is just the psychological stress. So rapid weight loss diets, they're often unsustainable and can lead to feelings of deprivation, making them feel psychologically stressful. And this can increase the likelihood of yo-yo dieting. So instead of trying to lose weight really fast, instead a good rate of weight loss is going to be anywhere in between about 0.5% to 1% of your body weight loss per week. That's going to be a really healthy, a really realistic and maintainable rate of weight loss. So I'm going to go ahead and put on the screen here a couple different weights and kind of what you could expect in that range there. Now the next mistake that I've seen when it comes to fat loss is going too slow. Now, the last mistake was going too fast. Now I'm saying going too slow. So you might be saying, Eric, what the hell are you talking about? What am I supposed to do here? It's a fine line. It's a happy medium of where you want to be when it comes to the rate of fat loss. Again, kind of flipping the last mistake on its head here, right? Opting for that a little bit slower approach might seem like a conservative, safe, smart idea, but it might hinder your progress in a little bit different way. The first one being lack of motivation and lack of momentum. So, fat loss journey, it's not just physical, kind of like we talked about before, it's also psychological. And, seeing tangible results, right? Seeing the scale go down, looking in the mirror, seeing yourself being smaller is what keeps a lot of people motivated and keeps them coming back day after day, when things get tough. Faster initial weight loss led to long-term success in weight maintenance, primarily due to the psychological impact of seeing their results. Another issue with drawing this thing out and taking forever is, when you're on a slow fat loss plan, it means that you're going to be restricting your calorie intake for a longer period of time. Prolonged caloric restriction can decrease your metabolic rate, disrupt hormone levels, all of this making it harder to keep losing weight and easier to regain weight once you return to a normal diet. It's also potentially, gonna lead to lack of adherence, right? So the longer the diet, the more life events and disruptions can get in the way. If you're dieting for 6 months, that's gonna be several holidays, birthdays, parties, all that stuff. There's just gonna be more chance for those things to come up the longer period of time that you have, leading to a higher chance of falling off track. So again, kind of wrapping up those two last mistakes there, right? Going too fast, going too slow. Again, find that happy medium, and that's gonna be somewhere between that 0.5% to 1% of body weight loss per week. All right, the next mistake we're going to talk about is ignoring sleep or not paying enough attention to your sleep. So when you don't get enough sleep, it does have a couple different impacts. The first one is going to be on your hormones. So sleep deprivation is going to lead to increased production of ghrelin, that hunger hormone that we've talked about, and decreased production of leptin, which is that satiety hormone that we've also talked about as well. And this is going to lead to increased hunger and an increased appetite, which if you're already on a calorie deficit, those are going to be kind of your worst enemies. So during deep sleep, growth hormone is released, and this is going to aid in the repair and growth of cells and tissues, including muscle tissue, and aiding in fat mobilization. So when you don't get enough sleep, it's going to disrupt that process, which is not good. It's also been noticed that sleep deprivation can increase cravings for high-calorie, carbohydrate-rich foods, and lack of sleep can impair decision-making and increase impulsivity, leading to poorer food choices. Another issue with not getting enough sleep is that you don't necessarily have the energy that you might have if you got a good night's sleep, and so therefore your physical activity levels are going to go down as well. So the amount of calories that you're burning is also going down, which is not great for fat loss. And lastly, a lack of sleep can impact your digestion. So sleep deprivation can disrupt a lot of different normal body processes, including digestion, leading to a slower metabolic rate and potential weight gain. So get your ass to bed. Get in a cave, right? You want it to be dark, you want it to be cool. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of high quality sleep, and your fat loss efforts are going to be exponentially multiplied. All right, the next mistake we're going to talk about when it comes to fat loss is drinking too much alcohol. I've seen this one time and time again. Guys come on board, they're super excited, they're ready to lose fat, but then they have a bachelor party, or they have a golf tournament, or they have whatever the case may be, and they're just not willing to cut back on the booze. Now, yes, you can drink to some extent and lose fat, but alcohol is just going to make fat loss so much harder, and for a couple of reasons. The first one being it's calorically dense. So alcohol has 7 calories per gram, which is 3 more calories per gram than carbohydrates and proteins, and 2 calories less than what fat has. Fat has 9 calories per gram. But you know, when you start to add those up, right, and maybe you're also having it in a mixed drink, which is going to have other calories in it as well, those calories in and of themselves are going to really start to add up. You know, let's look at something like just even a light beer is like 100 calories. You have 3 or 4 of those, that's 300 to 400 calories on top of what you're already eating. But it doesn't stop there. So alcohol also can encourage overeating in a couple of different ways. So studies have shown that alcohol can stimulate appetite and decrease inhibitions, making you more likely to eat more than you might otherwise if you weren't drinking. Alcohol also prioritizes alcohol metabolism. So when you drink alcohol, your body is going to prioritize metabolizing that alcohol. It's going to prioritize getting rid of that alcohol over other metabolic processes. So when you drink alcohol, it's going to get rid of the alcohol, it's going to metabolize the alcohol before it can start metabolizing things like fats and carbohydrates. And while it's metabolizing that alcohol and not metabolizing those fats and carbohydrates, it gets stored as fat, which is going to make losing fat very hard. The other thing that alcohol does is it really impacts your sleep, which we just talked about how important sleep is. And while alcohol might make it seem like it's going to help you fall asleep better, it's going to disrupt the quality of your sleep and your sleep cycle. So it's going to prevent you from getting that high quality restorative sleep. And poor sleep, like we just talked about, has been linked to weight gain and difficulties in losing weight altogether. And lastly, alcohol is going to really decrease your level of workout performance. It's going to impair your muscle recovery and muscle protein synthesis, which is the building of muscle, and making your workouts less effective. And it can also reduce your physical performance, leaving you less likely to burn as many calories during your workout. So, you know, moderate alcohol consumption can definitely fit into a healthy lifestyle and even into a fat loss phase. But again, I think when the goal is to lose fat, it's like anything with life, it's about priorities. And you're much better off prioritizing your fat loss, getting to that lean state of being, right, that you want to be at, and then your priorities can kind of shift from there. It's a lot easier to maintain a lean physique than it is to get a lean physique. So get that lean physique and then cruise through the maintenance phase. All right, the next mistake we're gonna talk about when it comes to losing fat is not focusing or prioritizing strength training. You see, because the goal is, right, you don't just wanna lose fat. That's not your goal. It's one of your goals to lose fat. What you really want is to look better. And in order to look better, you want to have some muscle to show once you do lose that fat. And you know, maintaining muscle, building muscle requires strength training. And yeah, right, you know, cardio can help for fat loss. loss, but too often do you see people solely relying on cardio for, you know, the output for their fat loss and not focusing enough on the strength training. So like we kind of touched on, right? Strength training during a fat loss phase is going to preserve that hard-earned muscle mass that you have built leading up to this point. So when you're in calorie deficit to lose fat, your body could also break down muscle for energy. Strength training, along with adequate protein, which we already talked about, is strength training helps maintain or even increase muscle mass during weight loss, improving your body composition and overall appearance, which is the name of the game. It's also going to help increase your metabolic rate. So like we talked about a little bit earlier, muscle tissue is metabolically active and burns more calories at rest than fat tissue does. Regular resistance training increases resting metabolic rate, helping you burn more calories throughout the day, which is going to help facilitate fat loss. All right, and the last mistake we're going to talk about today when it comes to fat loss is not tracking your progress. Not tracking your progress when you're working towards fat loss can hinder your success, and here's a couple reasons why. The first is objectivity. So when you're tracking your progress, this is going to provide objective data, helping to eliminate the guesswork and sort of take the subjective feelings out of the equation. And research shows that those who monitor their progress experience more consistent weight loss. It's also going to help in identifying patterns. So with things like daily weigh-ins, for example, are going to help identify patterns and trends in your weight, which may be linked to specific behaviors, food intake, or activity levels. And this can guide adjustments to your plan for better results. The next thing is motivation, right? So seeing progress, whether through weight loss, photos, or measurements, can definitely boost motivation. Another thing is just accountability. So tracking progress is going to hold you accountable. It's a self-check system to ensure that you're sticking to your plan. It's also going to help you to make any dietary adjustments that you might need to, right? So if you're tracking your food intake, which is something I highly encourage you to do if the goal is fat loss, you're going to get a much clearer picture and actually know where your calories are at, actually know where your macronutrients are, so you're eating few enough calories and getting enough protein to help with this fat loss phase. And lastly here, right, exercise progress. So tracking your workouts, you know, your weights, your reps, your sets for specific exercises, it's going to allow you to see improvements over time, which is going to be encouraging. It's going to also be indicative of any increased strength and endurance, and also ensures that you're progressively overloading, which is a key principle in muscle development and metabolic increase. Again, if the goal is fat loss, we want to maintain as much muscle as possible. And if we're maintaining our strength, or if our strength's even going up, that's a good sign that we're holding onto that muscle as the scale goes down. So there you have it, guys. Those are the 9 most common mistakes that I've seen as a fat loss coach over the last 5 years, why you should avoid them. It's gonna make fat loss a hell of a lot easier. So if you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. I'd really appreciate it. And if these tips weren't enough and you just need a little more guidance, make sure you check out the link in the description to apply for my one-to-one coaching program, where I walk you through step by step an entire journey on how to lose fat, build muscle, keep it off for life, so you can live a more confident life. Other than that, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.